My name is Allie and welcome to my channel. So if you haven't heard, Myonna from LittleWolfReads has put on this really fun readathon for the month of February, and that is called the Booktube games, and it's kind of supposed to be like the Disney Channel games back in the day with the different teams, and whichever team reads the most pages wins. So there's like, I think 5 teams. There's like Ketterdam, Neverland, Hogwarts, Derry, Maine, and Camp Half-Blood. So there's 5 different teams. I'm part of Team Ketterdam, so let's go, we're gonna win. And I decided to put together a few books for my TBR. This is just basically a starter TBR. I don't know if I'll read more books than this, but these are the books I really want to read for the Booktube games, and because it's by page count, I have quite a few books in this TBR, more than normal, so let's get right on into the books that I have. So the first 2 books I want to read in February for the Booktube games I don't actually own right now because they are coming out January 29th and they are not released yet. And those are both King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo and A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kammerer. So King of Scars is basically a spin-off series of both the Grisha trilogy and Six of Crows, and this one follows Nikolai, and as you guys know, I love Nikolai. He's one of my favorite characters from the Grisha trilogy. I absolutely love him, so I'm so excited to finally have a book that follows just him. And King of Scars is also set after Six of Crows, so if you haven't read either of those series, you're not really going to get to read King of Scars just yet. Make sure that you read both the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. They're very important. Please read both, and then you can finally get to King of Scars. And I finally read the Grisha trilogy earlier last year, and I had some mixed emotions about it, but overall I did enjoy my time reading it. It was a lot of fun, whether I hated it or liked it, and I am so excited to get to read more about Nikolai because I love him. He's my favorite. So I think that I'm really going to enjoy King of Scars. And then A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I don't know too much about it other than that, but I'm really excited. I've never read a Bridget Kammerer book before, but I know that a few of the people I follow on Twitter really love her work, so I'm really excited to get to her, and I think that I'm really gonna like this because I am looking for some more fairy tale retellings, and this one seems right up my alley, so I have it pre-ordered. It's coming. So excited. The next book on my TBR is actually the group book for Ketterdam, and that is Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand, and I'm so glad that I didn't finish this back in October because now I can finally read it for February for the Booktube games for my team Ketterdam, and I'm just so excited to finally get to this book. I've heard so many good things about it. This kind of seems like a YA contemporary thriller, but actually there are some fantastical elements in this as well, so I'm so excited to get to it. It's a pretty thick book, but I think I'm really going to enjoy it, and it's going to be a lot of fun to get to read it with the rest of my group. I also know that there is some queer representation in this book, so that's really exciting as well. And I've never read anything from Claire Legrand, but I do want to read Fury Born. I'm pretty sure that's like her fantasy book. So yes, I'm really excited that this was the pick for our Team Ketterdam book. The next book I want to read is part of a middle grade series, and that is The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani, and I have been really excited to get to this book for quite a long time. I actually bought this one and the second book on Book Outlet recently, so I have this one. I've been really wanting to get into like a magical school book, and this one seems like something that I will really enjoy. I just haven't really read any middle grade lately, and I really want to get into middle grade. There's quite a few different series I want to try out, so I figured that this would be a really good place to start. Basically, this book is about 2 young girls. One of them is good, one of them is evil, and the good one gets sent to the evil school and the evil one gets sent to the good school. So it's kind of like a trading spaces, trading places, whatever you want to call it kind of book. And I really like the last sentence in the synopsis. It says, "But when the 2 girls are swept into the endless woods, they find their fortunes reversed, and they'll quickly find that the only way out of a fairy tale is to live through it." And I'm super excited. This seems like kind of a twisted fairy tale, and I think that I'm really going to enjoy this book. So with my friend Gigi from A Study in Gigi, she has a channel, I'll link her down below. I am also rereading the entire Charlotte Holmes series with her. So for February, we are reading The Last of August by Brittany Cavallero, and I am so excited to get to the second book. I'm currently in the middle of A Study in Charlotte. I'm hopefully going to finish it super soon, and this is obviously the second book. We are reading this whole series in preparation for A Question of Holmes, which comes out in March, and so I'm really excited to get to the second book. This was one of my favorites out of the series. I can't describe most of this book to you guys because obviously spoilers, but if you don't know, the series follows Charlotte Holmes and Jamie Watson, and they are descendants of both Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, and they become kind of unlikely friends. Likely friends, unlikely friends, I mean, they're kind of destined to become friends. They have sort of opposite personalities, but they end up getting along really well and solving crimes, and it's a lot of fun. I really love this series. The next book on this list is another one that I got from Book Outlet recently, and that is The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner. And so many of you guys have been telling me that I absolutely need to read this book, that this entire series is just one of your all-time favorites. So I'm really excited to get to this one. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. Basically, this sounds kind of like Throne of Glass, but with a male main character, which sounds really interesting. It's also pretty short, so I think I should get through it pretty fast. And it just sounds like something I'd be really interested in, and all the other covers for the series are just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm definitely excited to get to something by Megan Whalen Turner because that is a name that I have heard a lot in the book community. And from how excited all of you guys are, I am expecting to really enjoy this book. The next book is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow, and I have been wanting to read this book for quite a long time. This is another book I got from Book Outlet, and this book is also a villain origin story. So basically this is a reimagining of the evil queen from Snow White, and I, like I said earlier, have been really into fairy tale retellings lately, and this one seems like one that is right up my alley because I love villain origin stories. I love anything about anti-heroes, villains, whatever, morally gray characters. This is gonna be for me. This is also kind of a short-ish kind of book, but I'm really excited about it. I also keep seeing the sequel to this book everywhere I go, so I feel like that's kind of a sign that I need to get into this book. And it's also an Asian-inspired fantasy, which I really want to get into more of those because there are so many popping up recently, and it just seems like something that I'm really going to enjoy because I really love any fantasy that has to do with non-white cultures, and this is definitely one of them. And also, I love the cover because of the snake. If you didn't know, I love snakes. The next book on this list is one I've seen quite a few mixed reviews for, and I have been really excited to get into it, but also really nervous. But it's very short, so I think it'll be fine. And that is Vassett in the Night by Sarah Porter. I also got this book off of Book Outlet. A lot of books from Book Outlet in this TBR, but I have heard so many mixed reviews about this book. I've heard either people really like it or really hate it, found it really boring or whatever. Despite it having some kind of negative reviews, I do think that this is going to be a book that I really enjoy. I know it's also a fairy tale retelling. It's based off of a Russian folklore called Vasilisa the Beautiful, and as you guys know, as I mention quite often on my channel, I love Russian history, I love Russian culture. I think that I'm really going to enjoy this book if it's done well, and if like the Russian culture, Russian history is still kind of infused into this book. I think I'm going to like it. I am a little nervous and hesitant to get into it. However, as you guys know, I'm a sucker for really beautiful covers, which means so far this has a lot of things that I already really enjoy in it, so I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that I'm going to like this book. The second to last book on this list is Pride by Ibi Zoboi, and because February is Black History Month, I did want to add in a few books that were written by Black authors, so this is one of them. This is also a really beautiful book. Not only is the cover gorgeous, but so is the inside of the book as well. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The end pages on both sides look the same. It's just so beautiful. Also, look at this. Isn't that the prettiest thing you've ever seen? Anyway, this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. I've never actually read Pride and Prejudice, but I've seen so many adaptations of this story from Jane Austen, and I have loved every single adaptation I've ever seen. And I think that I'm really going to enjoy this one as well. I've heard so many good things about it. and I just love the story of Pride and Prejudice. I think it's such a fun story, and I love all the characters, and I'm really excited to see this story put into more of an urban setting and talking about gentrification. And that's a really important issue that goes on a lot in urban settings, and I think that this is the perfect kind of story to address that issue with. And it's just so gorgeous. I'm so excited to get to this book. I've never read anything by Ibi Zoboi, but I think that she might be an author that I really want to get into a little bit more, especially in 2019. And the very last book on this list is one I'm super excited about from an author that I really love, and that is Odd One Out by Nick Stone. And I read Dear Martin last year, no, not last year, 2 years ago. Back in 2017, I read Dear Martin, and I absolutely loved it. It was so good. I read it in literally one day, and I've had this book I think since the day it came out or around the time when it first came out, and I've been really wanting to get into this book. I know that this has to do with bisexuality a little bit, which is really exciting because there's not a lot of books that deal with bisexuality, and I also love the cover. It's gorgeous. And this has been sitting on my shelf for quite a long time, so I figured that it was finally time to read it, especially for Black History Month, and I am just so excited to get into this book. I really don't know too much about what it's about, but I'm pretty sure that there is a love triangle, and as you guys know, I love love triangles, so that's a really exciting thing to have in a book. So I am pretty sure I'm gonna love this because I loved Dear Martin, and I really love the way that Nick Stone writes. It's very like high school casual kind of writing. It's very accessible, and it really reminded me, especially Dear Martin, it reminded me of my time in high school, so I felt like it was really realistic, and I'm hoping that I will enjoy this one just as much, if not more, than Dear Martin. Another book I'm planning on reading that I forgot to kind of mention is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, because I have that on audiobook, and it's like a very short audiobook. I think it's like an hour maybe, and so I was figuring I could read that as well because A, it's short, and B, it's also written by a Black author, so it would really fit into Black History Month, and I really want to read more books by Black authors this year because I felt like last year in 2018 I didn't do as good of a job as I did in 2017 of reading Black authors, so I really want to step my game up this year and get into more Black authors. So if you guys have any recommendations, leave them down below because I would love to hear them, and just anything, any sort of genre, science fiction, fantasy, contemporary, whatever, just put them all down below in the comments. Alright, so that was my TBR for the Booktube games, and thank you to Myonna for putting this all together. I'm so excited, and I'm ready for Team Ketterdam to bring home that W, so let's go. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!
Like